On behalf of Teamwork, we welcome you to the first edition of Going Solo, created in collaboration with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, presented by Louis Philippe in association with Skoda Fahrenheit and Tanishq. This evening, we present At the Edge, directed by Sharupa Datta and performed by Jailoshini Naidoo from South Africa. Kindly switch off your mobile phones. Flash photography and videography is strictly prohibited. Ladies and gentlemen, At the Edge.
From the other women in Cato Manor. Oh, it was a lovely story. Some of the many fascinating stories I've come across while working on my BA honours thesis entitled The Role of the Joint Family System and the Prevention of the Cultural Disintegration of Indian Indentured Labourers in Cato Manor before 1958. Sounds so academic and cold, doesn't it? But they were lovely stories. Especially those I heard from that grand old man, the former principal of Cato Manor School, Mr. P. Barnabas, whom you will meet later in the story. But first, the story of Savitri. Life was hard in Cato Manor, but it was even harder for the women. The men had great power over the women, and there was not much the poor women could do to change the ways of the menfolk, except, of course, for Savitri. It was a great pity that Savitri's parents had stopped her schooling in Standard 3. She had the strength of character that would have been an asset to her community. Now, I call her story Saris, Bangles, and Bees. Why bees? Well, therein lies the sting. It was a hot summer's day, and Ayakhan sat watching the bees through the window. And Durban's humidity had an unsettling effect even on the bees, and they buzzed aggressively over the snapdragons, roses, and marigolds, to and from the hole in the madoni tree where they were building their honeycomb. Unlike the bees, Ayakanu didn't seem to mind the heat, as he sat sipping his steaming hot cup of tea in his incubator, the tiny front room he had rented from Velama. He didn't even seem to mind the rancid smell of his sweat-stained, faded blue denim overalls, combined with the smell of castor oil, which he smeared so liberally over his rich crop of curly black hair. While he didn't seem to mind, his wife Savitri, or Savvy, as she liked to be called, did. She hated those denim overalls. Only losers ended up as municipal workers in faded blue denim overalls. Chee, you only fit to do that dirty work, she'd hiss through her pretty teeth as she confronted him in that combative pose that Ayakanu had nightmares about, as she patted her mountain of merino curls, so named because they resemble the sweeping horns of the merino sheep. That was the fashion of the day. And if anyone was clued up on fashion, it was Savvy. That wasn't the only thing that made her stand out in the district. She wasn't the meek, retiring housewife that walked a few paces behind her husband, like Shanmugam's wife, Neela. Neela and Shanmugam. What a combination. Even on a Sunday when they were going to a wedding, Shanmugam, all smartly attired in his beige woolen suit and brown suede shoes, even in the sweltering heat, would be tanked up with the cane spirits. Hey! Hey! Neela! Did I ask you to talk? Did I ask you to talk? No, I never asked. So what do you keep opening that big hole in your face for? Listen here. Hey, Neela. Listen here. Shut up. Let's go to the wedding. Bloody woman gives me a headache, man. Talk. Anna, what happened? Yeah. Stones in the road, man. Bloody potholes in the road, man. When they gonna give us tar roads, When they gonna give us tar roads? The white people, they got the tar roads. When they gonna give us, man? I must pay rates, I must pay taxes. What for? Potholes. Hey, Neela, did I ask you? Don't argue with me. Don't argue with me. Listen here. Shut up. Let's go to the wedding. Neela wouldn't say a word. Ratnam Pillai would be introducing the Indian program on the SABC, and every radio in the district would be turned on to full blast. Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning except Padimasam and Amavasya was wedding time. No matter who got married, rich or poor, the whole district turned up. And Shan seldom missed a wedding. While Ratnam Pillai's very Indian accent, especially chosen by the very white SABC, could be heard from Cato Manor Road to Second River and further. Good morning, listeners. Welcome, namaste, namaskaram, and assalamu alaikum to all you very good people out there. This morning we have a surprise treat in store for you, but that is later. Meantime, here is the news read by Ratnam Pillai. Mr. Hayhem Mullah, president of the Natal Indian Organization, said yesterday that his was the only body that could help the Indian people and not the militant Natal Indian Congress. Mr. Mullah said that Indian leaders believed that the only way to make progress was not to antagonize the authorities. In another exciting development, Mr. Mullah and Mr. P.R. Patta was granted an audience with the Honorable, the Prime Minister of South Africa, Dr. D.F. Malan. This was the first time the Indian people was granted this great honor. The Indian leaders said they felt very thrilled and deeply honored. And now for some sports news. Golf. Mr. Hay Kennedy put one hole-in-one in the Calais Fountain Golf Course. Soccer. Durban beat Malisburg in a very exciting Hintertown fixtures when Peter Snake Hebrians put one terrific shot to beat goalie Man Mountain Mustafa. 10 Malisburg supporters fainted on the spot. And now for that surprise treat. we are proud to present to you the magic of that most marvelous musicality, the one, the only, golden lily orchestra. Listening to all this, Shanmugam would somehow wobble his way to the Mayville Theatre where the wedding was taking place. His wife Neela, resplendent in a Banaras sari, would walk a respectable distance behind. Now here was a woman who knew her place. Why, thought Ayakanu, why couldn't Savvy be like that? But Savvy could also be coy and seductive whenever she wanted to. Why are you looking at me like that? Like what? You know, like that. I don't know nothing. You know, my company, you only look like that when you want it. You want it, eh? Yeah, I want it. I want it. And the drought would be broken, bringing forth a positive deluge. These were some of the few occasions when Ayakanu truly felt like a man. But it was really she who was getting her way. She could be a tigress when she wanted to. They had no children of their own and she had plenty of time on her hands. But what was time if you had nothing to do? If you had money, you could go to town and buy saris and bangles, or go to the bioscope and watch Savaji Ganesan. But Savvy was bored. And that meant trouble for Ayakanu. I don't know why I married you. Ayakanu could see it coming. I'm just going to the shop. Yes, stay right here. I'm going to go buy some bread. We got enough bread. I'm going to go buy some milk, man. We got enough milk. I don't know why I married you. What you want now, man, Savvy? Huh? What you want? What I want? Huh? What I want? You can't give me what I want, man. What I want is I want to go and work. That's what. What you want to go do that for now, man, Savvy? You got place to stay, you got food to eat, you got clothes. What do you want to go work for? No, buddy in my family did like that. Lady is going to go work, it's one disgrace, man. What the people will say, Savvy? Hey! What disgrace? Living like this is what really a disgrace, man. I'm not worried, I'm just going to go and work. Where are you going to go work now, man, Savvy? Huh? Where are you going to go work? I'm going to go work in the factory. My friend Punti, she got me a job in the clothing factory. Gulab's goody fashions. The woman's place was in the home. It was a man who had to go out to work. That was the way it was for generations. But in Ayakanu's life, indignity piled upon indignity. Yet he had a quiet, serious dignity about him, even when he went about doing his degrading job. In official terms, he was known as a sanitation worker. But to Savvy, he was a plain old shit bucket carrier. No matter how many times he did it, it was something he could never quite get used to. Every time he picked up the bucket, the nausea would hit him. But the cold fact of paying the rent made you detach yourself from this soul-destroying job and clamp the lid on. Sewage systems had not yet been introduced in the non-white areas until after the 50s. Until then, the toilets were tiny little structures that were plonked discreetly away from the main building. Although the buckets were left open, the stench was somehow contained by regular washing with ship dip and a concentration of aromatic flowers in the vicinity of the toilet. The more contained the odor, the more cultured you were. And this often found expression in the competitiveness of the children who teased each other mercilessly. Hey, our toilets don't stink like your toilets. The first time Ayakanu pulled the bucket out from under the seat was an unsettling experience. No matter how hard he tried, the nausea overwhelmed him, and he got sick. The vomit spewed out, and he dropped the bucket and slithered in its contents. The white driver, Mr. Thompson, gave him a tongue lashing. That painful, humiliating moment would stay with him for the rest of his life. It was then that he made up his mind. He was going to become the best shit bucket carrier around. He started to avoid adult friends for fear of the ridicule and spent more and more time with the children in the area who were fascinated by his ability to make toys out of discarded containers and wastage. One Saturday afternoon, Ayakana was busy helping his landlady Velema to do some gardening. They were making beds for herbs, dhania and brinjal, when suddenly a bee came buzzing by and landed on Ayakana's arm. He held out his arm to show it to the old lady, who stepped back in alarm. Badro, Naina, I will sting you, man. Ayakanu laughed.
It won't harm me. I know how to deal with bees.
The bee flew off, and he continued hoeing. Savvy would be home soon. The factory closed at noon on a Saturday. 4 hours passed by, and still Savvy hadn't arrived. Ayakan was starting to get worried and decided to walk to the bus stop a quarter of a mile away. As he was descending the hill past Udian's shop, he noticed a car pull up at the intersection of Cato Manor and Marlboroughs. Savvy emerged from the car. Her face looked flushed, and there was no mistaking the intimacy that existed between her and the well-dressed driver. Ayakanu stepped back in shock and then raced off home before she could see him. He didn't mention what he had seen, but he avoided her and spent more and more time with the children, furiously making toys. He regarded none of their requests as unreasonable and even said it was a good idea when one of the children suggested that someone take the honey out of the madoni tree. The children were surprised.
But uncle, you think you get stung, uncle? Hey, my father said you can take that honey out without getting stung, yeah? Special people can do it.
Ayakanu let the conversation drift a while and then cut in.
His father's right. I can do it.
The children looked at him in awe as he got up to prepare himself. He could feel their eyes glued to his every move, and he felt whole again, almost human. They watched closely as he smeared oil over his face for protection and then pulled a sackcloth over his head with 2 holes in it through which he could see. When he was ready, Ayakanu slowly approached the tree. Then plunged his hand into the hole in the tree, pulled out the honeycomb and threw it to the ground in one swift move. No sooner had he done that when an entire swarm of bees attacked. The oil was no protection, and he let out piercing screams of agony as he fell to the ground. And a thud. They had to call an ambulance. He had broken his collarbone and had numerous stings on his face and arms. He didn't look at the children, but most of all, he didn't look at Savvy as they carried him to the ambulance. About his job. He knew that his boss, Mr. Percival Osborne, didn't like him. He didn't like Mr. Osborne either. But jobs were hard to come by, and working was in his blood. At 3 every morning when he woke up, He shut out everything else but his work, which was probably why he wasn't even aware of the trouble in Tekweli. Everything had its place. He'd wake up at 3 and he'd make his tea. Then he'd step outside his 2-bedroom outhouse which he rented from Mr. Maniram. He always paid his rent on time, and Mr. Maniram respected him, but kept his distance.
How is so born, Anumzan?
Yeah,
It's a very nice day today, Anumzan. Very nice.
yeah. Dumi felt slighted at this calculated indifference, but you couldn't find such good, clean accommodation unless you wanted to live in Amkamban, the sprawling shanty town where there were no toilets or washing facilities. Yet you had to pay £6 a month to Mr. Muhammad, whose family also owned a shop in Booth Road. Besides, Mrs. Maniram was a kind lady who had taken to Dumi's family, and every now and then she'd actually give them some curry and bread. Every morning, Dumi would walk from the bottom of Ashwell Road, past the smart brick house belonging to that garrulous bookkeeper, Mr. T.S. Naidoo, grandly named the Lion's Den. Then he'd pass the short, steep little road that led to the Cato Manor government-aided Indian school, built by the Indian community with their pennies, assisted by the Methodist Indian Mission. How nice if he could send his children there. But he couldn't do that, oh no. That was an Indian school. The government wouldn't allow it. Dumi would get to the top of Cato Manor Road, the beginning of the white area, past the Jew's shop and the well-ordered rows of hydrangea and meticulously manicured bougainvillea hedges. He couldn't help but contrast the soulless uniformity to the way nature celebrated the gift of life with such marvelous abandon on the banks of the Umgeni River as it wound its way to the valley of 1,000 hills where he grew up as a child. Dumi often longed for the lush spontaneity of the Umgeni Valley, especially when he was scolded by the other mechanics at work for speaking too loudly with his friends. Hey, can't you people keep your voices down, man? You're speaking to someone right next to you, not on the other side of Booth Road, for Christ's sake. Jeez, these people. Dumi's boss, Mr. Percival Osborne, not only worked hard, he also played hard. Dumi recalled the splendor of that New Year's Eve party when he drove the bus to the Osborne family mansion on their sprawling Kloof estate. What a party that was! Everyone was in top form, and some of the men and even the women actually put their arms around Dumi and offered him drinks and snacks. Oh, come on, Dumi, wouldn't you like to have a drink then, hey?
Oh, no boss, I'm driving, boss.
You're driving, are you? Well, don't worry, I won't tell your boss. What will you have then, man?
Oh, boss, I'll have a beer, boss. Just one, boss.
And the beer was thrust into his hands. Some of them even asked him to sing, and at first he shyly declined, although he sang regularly in the church choir, you know. Well, come on, Dumi. Let's hear a song then, shall we?
How? Boss, I can't sing, boss.
You can't sing? Well, don't be silly. All blacks can sing, can't they? Oh, yes, they have such marvelous voices, don't they? Well, come on, Dumi, let's hear a song then, but not one of those churchy numbers, hey? Oh, but darling, Negro spirituals are such jazzy stuff, aren't they? Oh, with the saints, oh, with the saints, oh, with the saints go marching in. Oh, come on. Let's hear it from Dumi. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Frank Jomasane Sinatra. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it, of old New York. There was a hush in the revelry, and everyone listened in growing awe and admiration. And when he had finished, they all burst into thunderous applause. Some of them even thrust 10-pound notes into his hands. Oh my God, can you believe it? Dumi, where did you learn to sing like that, man?
Oh, boss, I'm learning in the radio, boss. I'm listening to the radio and I'm learning. That's how I'm learning, boss.
Well, that was marvelous. Simply marvelous, if you ask me. The music, the dancing, the laughter, the fun. The party was in full swing, and suddenly the clock struck 12 and they all burst into song. Should old acquaintance be forgot? Anyhow, that was a party that Doomy would never forget. It was the mother of all parties. Back at work, though, Mr. Osborne expected everyone to work as hard as he did. The only time Doomy saw him really angry, his face blazing red, his nostrils flaring, and beads of sweat on his pockmarked nose and forehead, was when the Mohammedis, an Indian family, moved into the double-story house opposite the garage. It was quite an event, and everyone stood watching. Watching these newcomers move in, Mr. Osborne was livid. Why in God's name can't these people live in their own areas with their own kind? Why do they insist on living with us? Bloody bastards, you give them an inch, they'll take a yard, they would. They should send them all back to India. They breed like damn flies, they do. Doomy had been picking up the chocolate wrappings from the floor and was taking them to the bin near the workshop when he saw his boss in animated conversation with Sullivan, the white mechanic, and his 2 African grease monkeys. That was very strange. Mr. Osborne normally kept his distance from Sullivan. Sullivan was very rough and he smoked and swore a lot. Doomy caught snatches of their conversation. Yeah, they should terrorize the pigs and send them back to India. Paraffin will do the job. Although his curiosity was roused, Doomy was too busy to stand and listen. But it all made sense later when his friend Paed came to the garage in a car packed with solemn-looking people. Paed himself looked very agitated. How sabona, Paed? Unjan? Paed nodded. That was very odd. He was normally very friendly. He spoke Zulu fluently, and he and Doomy were always teasing each other. Inindaba, Paed, what is wrong? Paed told him that a lot of fighting had broken out in the Indian market in Victoria Street. An Indian stallholder caught an African boy stealing and punished him. Africans then attacked the stallholder and were now attacking all Indians in their way. You know, it's terrible, Doomy. It's really terrible, And you know, the white people, Doomy, the white people are starting the problem, They're stirring up the trouble. Some of the big white firms are even closing down earlier. They're sending all the African workers in the big trucks to the Indian areas so they can come and attack us, man. They're even giving them paraffin, Doomy. We can't fight them, we are too few. How? But why you not call the police, Paed? The police know, Doomy, they know everything. They're just standing and watching. They're not doing nothing, man. We're taking my family to my cousin's house in Maritzburg. They'll be safe there. Suddenly, it all made more sense. That was why so many Africans were coming to the garage that day. The garage also sold paraffin in bottles, but the sales had never before been that high. Reports of arson, looting, and raping were coming in. Doomy was shocked. He later saw his boss, Mr. Osborne, joking with the Zulu workers about burning down the houses of the Indian people. Surely he realized that these people were serious? At about 3:30 that afternoon, Mr. Osborne called all his workers together and addressed them. Doomy listened in stunned silence. The Indian people deserve what they're getting. They make a lot of money out of you people, and they have absolutely no respect for you. We white people have come to help you. This is your country. We've come to improve it. We built roads, schools, shops, hospitals. These Indian people have only come to make money. They have houses, you don't. You can tell all your friends they can have all the paraffin they want free of charge. When Mr. Osborne had left, Doomy quickly called his friends together and he addressed them in hushed tones. How? That's very wrong. This is very wrong. We are Christian. These Indian people, they are our friends. They are not all very rich. Look at my friend Pooban. She's got same job as me. He told them about R.D. Naidoo and Billy Peters, who were constantly fighting against the color bar and were always being thrown in prison. Simon and Johannes, who were about his age, agreed with him. But the others told him quite bluntly that the boss was right. That night, the arson, looting, raping, and killing increased. The smell of petrol and paraffin was in the air, and the night sky was lit up by soaring flames. It was only a matter of time before the mob would get to Asheville Road. Indian people in cars were fleeing in all directions. The Manirams didn't have a car, and Dumi found them huddled together in their bedroom. Mrs. Maniram was sobbing quietly. My children. My children. Oh, Numzan, you must not stay here, Numzan. It's not very safe. Mr. Maniram was a brave man, but all he had was a huge kitchen knife.
We have nowhere to go. We have nowhere to go. But they will have to kill me before they touch my family.
How? Numzan, you cannot fight them, Numzan. There are too many. You must hide in my house. You will be safe there. Mr. Maniram hesitated. But Mrs. Maniram sprang into action. She bundled the children together and dashed off to the outhouse, where they were hidden under the beds and in the wardrobes. It was only a matter of time before the rampaging mob got to the top of Asheville Road. The war chants could be heard above the screams of the people. Dumi and his wife stood outside the house as the leader approached. What are you doing here? This is Amakula's house. How? I live here. I'm renting this house. Where are the people in the main house? They've run away. They've all run away. I think you lie. Some of the men ran into the main building, and after ransacking it, they set fire to it. The flames lit up the entire area. They are not in the main house. They must be in your house. How? No, my brother. They are not in my house. I'm not liking these Indian people myself. Please, my brother, don't go inside my house and frighten my children. Please, my brother. The mob hesitated for a few seconds. And then suddenly, one young man broke free and dashed into Dumi's outhouse. Within seconds, he was out again shouting, "His lie! They are inside his house! They're under the beds!" Mercy deserted them. It deserted the souls of fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters, giving way to the eternal savagery that lurks within the human heart. Out of the time war for primeval hate flew the spear, and it shot straight through Dumi's heart. There was no pity, no reason in the hearts of these malleable souls, held captive by minds most savage in their cunning, the cunning on which empires have been built.
1948. Primary school certificate, 1945. And of course, class photos. There's Sada and Badrat. Look at Bomi and the Pepala Jaga. One thing about Cato Manor School, we have a fantastic photographic record. You name it, we have it. Class photos, photos of school functions, graduation ceremonies, a storehouse of memories. Wonderful thing, the camera. Click, and you immortal. And what an occasion class photo day would be at Cato Manor School. Photographer Pandey would turn up at the school in his trusty old Oldsmobile. Brijlal Pandey, himself a student at this very school many, many years ago. And he still calls me Sir. Although I must admit, a little more confidently than that day when he was sent to my office for pouring ink down J. Sealand's shirt. Brijlal Pandey. What a character! Come in. Mr. Pandey, how nice of you to visit. Hey, did I ask you to sit? You come here so often, you're making yourself comfortable. Stand, my boy, stand. Now, Brijlal, I want you to explain to me why you poured ink down J. Sealand's shirt. Go on, explain.
It just fell down.
Oh, just fell down. Just like that. Very interesting. Now, Brijlal, there's the ink pot on my desk. I want you to demonstrate and show me how that thing just fell down like that on its own. Go on, show me. A stupid thing to say. But principles are also human, you know. Before I could say another word, Brijlal turned around and knocked the ink pot down with the back of his hand. Brijlal!
That's how I knocked it down, sir. By accident, sir. Oh, sir. Your pants.
I had my off-white summer suit on that day. I have not worn it since. Needless to say, I could have killed Brijlal. But principals are often called upon to have tremendous control and tolerance, you know. Did Brijlal knock the ink pot down on purpose, or was it an honest demonstration of the accident? I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I must admit, I did notice the little gleam of triumph in those naughty eyes of his. Anyhow, Brijlal went on to become a highly successful photographer, in great demand at weddings and other family functions. And what a fetish and ceremony he made of it.
Okay, right, everybody get ready for the photograph. Right, you come, hey, you're blocking the bride here, man. I can't even see the bride. Where's the bride? You the bride. Are they? This is a wedding, man, not a funeral. Put one side. What? See, now you smile, you look like a flower. Okay, right, everybody. No. You're throwing too much confetti here. You're clouding my lenses. I can't even see the lenses here, man. When I say hold the confetti, then you'll hold the confetti. When I say throw the confetti, then only you'll throw the confetti. Okay, right, everybody. Hold the confetti. Say cheese. Throw the confetti. Clicks. Very good.
What a character. And what an occasion. Class photo day would be at Cato Manor School. You know, the children would come dressed in their very best. There was no school uniforms in those days. Parents simply couldn't afford it. And shoes was an absolute luxury. Some of the boys in standard 6 would come for photographs wearing suits belonging to their fathers and their older brothers. Who cared if it was a little larger than life? It was a special occasion. Now, Brijlal Pandey would place his camera on a tripod and he'd get the children ready for the photographs on those long wooden benches.
Okay, right, you come this side. Okay, right, you go that side. Hey, put your shoulders back, man. Put your shoulders back and stand properly in the picture. Okay. Hey, fat fella, you're blocking that small girl. I can't even see her in the photograph, man. Put that side. Okay, right. You can't eat your lunch in the photo, man. Greedy fella. Eat and stay. Okay, right. Everybody say cheese. Clicks.
And the faces of a new generation would be frozen for posterity. Look at these faces. Young and eager and ready to take on the world. Cato Manor. The story is right here in these faces. Now there's a face I'll never forget. Premlal Madhyo, better known as Cut-Neck Bobby. Few people in Cato Manor will forget that day that epic battle broke out between Cut-Neck Bobby and his equally robust brother Bulwa, so named because he resembled a bull. You know, rice was a scarcity in those days. And if you could afford rice in your house, you were something of a big shot. Mealy rice wasn't all that bad if you knew how to cook it. But if you ate rice for lunch and supper, you never got used to mealy rice. As Cut-Neck Bobby grew older, he had fond memories of mealy rice. And in his old age, with watery-eyed nostalgia, he would thrill his grandchildren and the other youngsters in the district about the good old days in Cato Manor. And what a mouth-watering combination mealy rice, dal, and dry fish chutney made. Oh, you know better. Mealy rice was too good those days, eh? Too good. You know my friend Manny, he used to only eat mealy rice. And what a big, strong fella he was. Too strong. You know my mother, your great-grandmother, she used to grind her own spices. This side, the mealy rice would be steaming. That side, the dal will be going in the stove. And my mother will then take the dry fish and she'll cook it in the kada on the open fire. We'll be just waiting to eat. Mealy rice was too good those days. Too good. Of course, nostalgia is a handmaiden of delusion. The good remains, the bad recedes, and so it was with mealy rice. These days, Cut-Neck Bobby wouldn't touch it, and his wife Chandra didn't even want to hear about it.
Hey, you old pakla, you. The children are all grown. God gave so much. You're still talking about mealy rice. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you, man.
These days, people waste food. Those days, times were tough. Life was hard. Still, Cut-Neck Bobby never really felt it because his father Ramnath, the market gardener, made sure they had a roof over their heads, clothes to wear, and food to eat. And when times got really tough, there was always the herbs that grew in their well-tended garden. God knows how he did it, but Ramnath provided a house and sent all 11 of his brood to school. Education was a sacred duty. Mata, Pita, Guru Devam. First your parents, then your teacher, and then God. Ram was a good father. What else could you do but provide for your family? Sure, you couldn't eat meat and chicken every day, but as long as you had something. Poverty, has a way of taking people for a ride. And often the lines become blurred between personal responsibility and the helplessness of the disadvantaged. And often there were arguments in the cut-neck Bobby household, with his mother nagging for more groceries or some suspected philandering on the part of his father.
Ram, no oil. I said no oil.
No oil, no this, no that. What do you think? Money is growing on trees here, what?
Then now I'm gonna cook then.
Why you use so much oil?
I never used lot oil when you saw me using lot oil. One thing, Salachi's husband next door, he buys all the groceries and gives. Only me, I shout and say for everything.
Hey, Muthu works in the garden. You think he's better than me because Muthu works in the factory. You think he's better than me because I work in the garden.
I never say he's better than you, but he buys Salachi everything and gives there. And also, he don't go by that Memun's house.
When you saw me go to Memun's house, you saw me go to Memun's house.
Every time you see that Memun, you go in funny. Big man like you smile and show your teeth. But with me, no, you quiet like one mouse.
Hey, big teeth, I got a muscle smile. What? A muscle smile.
Yeah, but why you can't smile at me? Why you only smile at that Memun? You're not there, husband. Don't shout, the children will hear you, man. Who's shouting? You shouting. I'm not shouting.
You cross, you got no oil. What Memun got to do with that? You cross, you got no groceries. What Memun got to do with that? See my hands. Who I'm working for, man? I'm working for myself, you think? I'm working for myself. Salachi's husband buy everything and give. Huh? Salachi don't talk to her husband like that. Some people got respect for their husband.
I never say I got no respect.
You mustn't say you got respect. You must show you bloody got respect, man. You know, if my mother spoke to my father like that, what will happen? You know what will happen? Anyhow, getting back to Cut-Neck Bobby. You know, they called him Cut-Neck Bobby because he was so thick you could barely see his neck. He was a stubby character with fat jowls that covered his short neck. And every time he turned his head, his whole body moved with it.
Hey, what you said?
Anyway, Cut-Neck Bobby developed into quite a heavy drinker, but not half as bad as his brother Bulwa. They lived in a wooden iron house on top of the hill in Cato Manor. And every Friday evening, the sounds of Nachanya music would come floating down the hill. Of course, followed by the inevitable shouts and screams from a family feud or argument. But no matter how bad the arguments got, there was never any violence. Until, of course, that one fateful Friday evening, after a booze-up at the Mayville Hotel. Friday nights. What would life be without it, eh? And the brothers would be the life and soul of the party, especially Bulwa. Hey, laka. Hey, how's it, bro? What happened? You don't know to talk, man. You don't know to smile at me. What happened? Why are you looking sad? Your wife left you. Hey, when your wife leaves, you must smile, man. Best thing can happen to a man. Best thing, must buy a round of drink, must jol, man, jol. And then, of course, he would try to sing and interfere with everything that was going on. Hey, what kind of music this is? Huh? What kind of music you're playing here? You've got no culture. Wait, I'll show you our culture. Wait, I'll show you our culture. When I fall in love, when I fall in love, it will be Mona Lisa.
Hey, what kind of song you singing, you man? You're singing like a dead duck. Rubbish, man, rubbish.
And an argument broke out between the brothers. Eventually it got so hectic that Cut-Neck Bobby decided to storm off home, leaving Bulwa to stumble along behind him. When he got home, he threw his coat on the bed
and went over to the wash basin to refresh himself. He splashed the water on his face and arms and was just reaching for a towel behind him when a furious bull came up in a towering rage behind him and grabbed him by the shirt.
Suwai! Hey, who you calling Suwai? Huh? Who pays the rent in this house?
Bloody Suwa! Who buys the groceries here?
Bulwa stumbled and they both fell into the drain. They hit at each other and one of Bulwa's blows reached below the belt. Cut-neck Bobby grabbed the first weapon he could find, an empty paraffin bottle, and the bottle came crashing over Bulwa's head.
Are! You broke my head, man!
No! I never break it. I just poke it.
Bulwa's wife was hysterical. She ran out to the neighbors shouting,
Call the police! Call the policeman! They're breaking my husband's head here. They're murdering him.
Bulwa was taken to the bedroom, where he was placed on the bed. A handful of crushed charcoal was shoved in the gash in his head and then tied with a makeshift bandage, completing the picture of the Maharaja who had just come home from the wars. By the time the cops arrived, an Indian sergeant and a white constable, Cut-neck Bobby was dead sober. He raced over to the prayer room, grabbed hold of the ceremonial tray, put a piece of camphor in it, lit it, stuck out his tongue, and began to dance and sway as if he was in a trance. The white cop was perplexed. Hey, Narayan, what's wrong with you? Say, you can't arrest him now, say, you can't arrest him. And why not? Say, you got God on him, say, you can't arrest him. I see. Is that why he's... Hey, stay away from him. Hi! Cut-neck Bobby moved towards the cop and gestured at him. Say, put your hand out. Say, God will bless you. Put your hand out. The white cop gingerly put out his arms. Cut-neck Bobby gestured for him to kneel. The white cop hesitated. Cut-neck Bobby lunged forward. The white cop knelt. Cut-neck Bobby then smeared some ash on his forehead and sprinkled some in his palms. Narayan, does this mean I've got God on me too? The white cop and the Indian cop watched a while longer as Cut-neck Bobby continued with his ministrations. And when they finally made their way down the hill, they were so lost in thought, contemplating the mysteries of the universe, that they didn't even hear Bulwa's moans as Cut-neck Bobby ministered him and sprinkled ash on his wounds. The applause was deafening. Tanga wished he could speak like that. He kept thinking of Ismail Khan's fabulous phrases. Natural resources and inspiring beauty. Pariahs in the land of our birth. It was hot and sticky in that Mayville theatre, but the speaker rose to even greater heights. My brothers and sisters, how can we trust a government that so callously enslaves the vast majority of this land? We must all stand together and say no. We must say no in a voice so resounding that it will be heard in the corridors of power. If you don't, with this Group Areas Act, they will be able to take away your homes. Tanga felt bitter and angry.
They will take away my home over my dead body. This is my home. I built it, and God knows how I suffered. They will take away my home over my dead body. Thanga had the mind of a lawyer, but his parents couldn't really afford his education, so he became the next best thing, a bush lawyer or an agent unlimited, selling everything from insurance to property and fighting people's legal and financial battles and so on. He kept thinking of Ismail's words. He knew that the government was harsh towards people of color, but surely even they couldn't be that cruel. The Indian people in Cato Manor had built their own homes, their own schools, they built their own mosques, temples, churches. They even built their own crematorium and provided their own bus service. They were a settled community. Surely this was impossible. Eventually, Ismail Khan's words faded from Tanga's overworked mind. He was a hard-working man, always fighting for the battles. Take, for instance, the case of the Ramkisuns. It was their case that landed him in Mr. Johnston's office, pleading on their behalf. Now, Mr. Johnston took one look at Tanga and thought to himself, he knew exactly this type. The ingratiating smile, the fawning tone. You had to hand it to these Indians, or as he called them, these coolies. They just refused to lie down and die. Mr. Johnston spoke in his most officious tone. Mr. Pagliacci, do you have any idea how many times we have tried to contact these people? Mr. Johnston, I know all that very well, Mr. Johnston. But you see, they just had a few family setbacks, Mr. Johnston, and they just need a little more time, you know. The ingratiating smile was there, as was the fawning tone. But Mr. Johnston noticed that Tanga never referred to him as sir. Still, he had a grudging respect for this man. I don't really bloody care about all of that, Mr. Pagliacci. For God's sake, do you have any idea how many times we have tried to contact these people? We sent them lawyers' letters. They've had 6 letters of demand. And they didn't even have the bloody courtesy to respond. Do you know what it costs this department in legal fees to keep sending letters to you people? It's a waste of the taxpayers' money, man. Your money, I might add. Tanga thought to himself, our money, how convenient. Only when it comes to matters like this, our money. Not when it comes to building better roads in our areas and providing better street lighting like they do in the white areas. But he just kept smiling. You know, Mr. Johnston, these are very simple people, Mr. Johnston, but they're very good, honest people. I don't care what kind of people they are, Mr. Pagliacci. They must pay their bloody rates by the due date. Tanga knew the law. He wanted to tell his glorified clerk to go to hell. But he just kept smiling. This was just another step in delaying the sale and execution of the Ramkisoon property. Later, he even raised a loan to pay off their arrears, and he stood as guarantor himself. Major risk in these perilous times. But that was the nature of the man. He was a big-hearted man. And every occasion was an occasion for giving. Whether it was his children's birthdays or grandchildren's naming ceremonies, a big marquee would be erected in the backyard. And he would provide food for everybody. Mutton biryani. His friends and neighbors would never understand his generosity. Mutton biryani. But Tanga would just smile and say, eat, my friends, eat, eat. You know, we came into this world with nothing. When we go, we take nothing and go eat, enjoy. It was on one such occasion, when Tanga was at his radiant best, that someone ran in and said, hey, did you see the daily news? Did you read the newspaper? Cato Manor has been declared a white area. Tanga had been looking into his glass of cane dashed with coke. He could see the little bubbles spiral to the surface where they would burst in a tiny flash. It's amazing how at moments like these, detail becomes etched in one's subconscious. Tanga would continue to see those bubbles long after they had faded away.
he put down his glass, got hold of a newspaper, and there it was in black and white. The impossible had happened. In the name of slum clearance, in the name of community development, in the name of group rights and group protection, in the name of Western civilization, Cato Manor was now declared a white group area. All of the Indian people who had lived there for generations would now be forced out of their homes, out of their own piece of ground. Tanga stopped throwing parties. He resigned from the Mayville Football Association and joined the Natal Indian Congress. He started addressing meetings at the Mayville Theatre. His speeches were never prepared, but they were sincere and straight from his heart, and the people listened. My brothers and sisters, how can we allow a government in which we have no say to come in and take what is legally ours? This is legalized robbery. You won't allow a stranger to come into your home and throw you out and take over. No. We must stand together and we must fight. God is on our side because our side is the side of the truth. We must stand together and fight. They can go against one or two people, but they can't go against a whole district. Tanga was aware that the special branch of the South African police was watching him closely. He'd heard what they do to their enemies. He'd heard horrific stories of people being tortured and disappearing without a trace, but he refused to be cowed into silence, and he spoke with even greater fervor. Of course, very soon, he was visited by Lieutenant Joubert from the special branch of the South African police. So, Mr. Paed, you had a lot to say recently, huh? Haven't you? I've had good reason to say it. Yeah, I know. We know all about your type. Communisms and communists always have good reason, isn't it? You're wasting my time. If you have nothing else to say, please leave my premises. Don't worry, Mr. Paed, I'm going. But first, here's a letter from the Minister of Police himself. You're a very important man, Mr. Paed. Go and read it. It was a banning order under the Suppression of Communism Act. Communism, a convenient scapegoat. Under this banning order, Tanga was no longer allowed to address or attend meetings. He had to be home by 7 p.m. every night, and he had to report to the police station once every week. It seemed futile to fight against the government. If you did, the entire weight of the law and more would be thrown against you. You were powerless. Eventually, 180,000 people were forced out of their homes in Cato Manor. But Tanga stayed. All of his 3 children who were now married moved off into their new homes in Chatsworth, and his wife Gunam was starting to feel the loneliness. She addressed him one night when he came home from work. Tanga, you know how dangerous it's gone here, Tanga? Everybody is gone, it's so lonely. There are burglars and thieves living in the bushes, and you leave me here all day by myself. Tanga didn't want to argue. Gunam, you pack your things. Tomorrow I'll take you to Devan's house. You can go and stay there. Devan was the eldest of their 3 children, and when he had moved, he had forced his parents to come with him. Tanga, what about you, Tanga? Gunam, I don't want to argue. I am not going anywhere. This is my house and I'm staying right here. But Gunam could be as stubborn as he was. And she too stayed. Eventually, the final notice arrived. And it read, "29th of April 1960, Mr. Tanga Padiachi. Dear sir, you have illegally continued to occupy the premises described as Lot 324 of the farm Zekofle
alternatively known as number 24 Tatum Crescent Mayville, despite numerous reminders. The department is undertaken to provide you at your cost with alternate premises in Chatsworth. You are required to contact us within 7 days from the above date. Failure to do so will render you liable for prosecution. Your cooperation in this matter will be highly appreciated. Tanga thought to himself, cooperation. These people know how to choose their words so well. Even when they're stealing a man's home. Cooperation. They don't even know the meaning of the word. I will leave my home over my dead body. He reached over for the bottle of cane and Gunham watched helplessly. The doctor had warned him to stop drinking. Very soon the 7 days passed and they were visited by 2 officials from the Department of Community Development who told them quite bluntly that they had 2 weeks to move, and after that the house would be bulldozed to the ground. Tanga didn't argue, he was tired. He just merely said, you do what you want. Gunham had had enough. She was sick and tired of his stubbornness, and she called in the family. His eldest son Devan was furious. Appa, this is utter stupidity, Appa. Everybody is moved, Appa. Even all those people who were giving speeches in the Mayville Theatre, they've all moved. What difference can you make? What difference can a handful of people make, Appa? What you are doing is not right, Appa. You are causing undue pain to Amma. Don't you have any feeling for your family, Appa? No! I got no feeling for my family, no feeling at all. That's why I suffered and built this roof over your head. I got no feeling. You know, you are lucky. When I was 15, I never even have shoes to wear. Appa, it's not like we don't appreciate everything you've done, Appa. We appreciate everything. I understand all of that, but still, Appa, this is my home. It is my home. I built this home with my own hands. And God only knows how I suffered. Nobody is going to take it away from me. Nobody. Appa, this is just ridiculous, Appa. Please, Appa, it's ridiculous. I said nobody. Nobody. They looked at each other for a long while. And then Tanga walked off outside. That night, as he sat in his veranda overlooking the garden, he noticed a white rose speckled with wormholes. He got up to pluck it so it could adorn the shrine in his bedroom. He bent over. They were to have bulldozed his house. But the Department of Community Development kindly agreed to postpone it so that the funeral could take place from number 24 Tatum Crescent in due deference to Tanga Paliachi's last wishes.
fabulous ladies and gentlemen. At the Edge, performed by Jailoshini Naidoo from South Africa. It's directed by our colleague Sharupa Datta, who's up there at the console, and it is based on Ronnie Govinder's book called At the Edge and Other Cato Manor Stories. Our journey started with Jailoshini, and At the Edge started 4 years ago when we created this production for one of our festivals in South Africa called Shared Histories, and this strong production we thought we'll get here in India, and here it is in front of you. Thank you very much, Jailoshini, for coming all the way from there. Thank you for that. Thanks, Sharupa, for creating this. And thank you all for coming this evening and sharing your valuable time with us. We have a last day of the festival tomorrow, and we're showcasing Churchill and Adolf at 7 and 8:30 p.m. respectively. So if you haven't seen that yet, please do come for those as well. Those are some excellent productions. And look forward to see you tomorrow. Thank you very much and have a lovely night. Thank you.